Another day, another diplomatic disaster waiting to happen, I muttered, adjusting my ceremonial armor for the 5th time. Being Captain Korva Nix of the Zelturian Defense Fleet sounds impressive until you realize it mostly involves looking intimidating at meetings while politicians fumble through conversations that determine our survival. 27 cycles of military service, for major campaigns against the Draxan Empire, and here I am, glorified security detail. Captain, the human vessel has requested docking clearance, Lieutenant Pax announced, interrupting my self-pity party. Just one ship? Seriously? I clicked my mandibles in disbelief. These humans must be either supremely confident or spectacularly naive. Our intelligence on humans was limited. Small bipeds from a watery planet, only achieved faster-than-light travel about 50 Earth years ago. Technologically primitive compared to the Zelturian Collective or the Draxan Empire. Yet somehow they'd managed to insert themselves as neutral observers in our centuries-old conflict. Grant them clearance, I sighed. And alert High Council member Thala. The human vessel was surprisingly elegant, sleek and silver with minimal weaponry visible. Not that it would matter. When the Draxans arrived tomorrow with their battle dreadnoughts, one human ship would be as significant as space dust. Ambassador Marcus Blackwood strode into our greeting chamber with a swagger that seemed inappropriate for someone whose species could be obliterated as collateral damage in our conflict. Tall for a human, with dark skin and a perpetual half-smile, he moved with unusual confidence. Captain Nix. Wonderful to finally meet you in person, he extended his hand in what I recognized as their customary greeting. Your war records make for fascinating reading. I stared at him. You've read my military file? Just the highlights, he winked. The Zelturian information networks aren't nearly as secure as you think they are. High Council member Thala fluttered her throat sacs anxiously. Ambassador Blackwood, perhaps we should discuss protocols for tomorrow's negotiation? The Draxans have signaled their arrival with significant forces. 16 battlecruisers, 22 destroyers, and what appears to be their new flagship, the Emperor's Fist, I added. They're not coming to negotiate. They're coming to demand our surrender. Blackwood picked up a piece of Zelturian fruit from the refreshment table, examining it curiously. May I? Without waiting for permission, he took a bite and immediately spat it out. Whoa! That's intensely bitter. How do you eat these things? Those are decorative, Ambassador, I said flatly. Ah. He grinned, seemingly unbothered. Classic diplomatic faux pas. Won't be my last, I'm sure. When our sensors detected the early arrival of the Draxan fleet, the council chamber erupted in panic. Battle stations were activated, evacuation protocols initiated. Yet Ambassador Blackwood simply glanced at his wrist device, raised his eyebrows slightly, and muttered, well, they're certainly punctual for warmongers, aren't they? I couldn't understand his calm in the face of certain doom. As the massive Draxan ships darkened our skies, Blackwood looked almost amused. Something wasn't right about this human. And I was beginning to think we'd all severely underestimated what his presence truly meant. #only one ship? Part 2, the Ultimatum. Commander Grell of the Draxan Empire was exactly what you'd expect from a species evolved from apex predators. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, with iridescent scales and 4 arms each ending in lethal claws, he paced the negotiation chamber like he already owned it. The terms are simple, Grell boomed, smashing a fist on the table for dramatic effect. Surrender your outer colonies, dismantle your fleet, and pledge allegiance to the Emperor. You have 6 hours to comply. Quick question, Ambassador Blackwood interrupted, raising his hand like a schoolchild. Do all Draxans have that impressive neck frill, or is that just a you thing? It's quite striking. The chamber fell silent. I swear I could hear Thala's heart valves contracting in terror. Grell's eyes narrowed to slits. You dare mock me, human? Not at all. Genuine curiosity. Also wondering, do those scales itch when you molt? Our Earth reptiles get quite cranky during shedding season. I quickly intervened. Ambassador Blackwood is simply expressing cultural interest. Another question, Blackwood continued, ignoring my attempt to save him. Your ultimatum, is 6 hours standard, or did you pick that because your ships need recharging after that dramatic entrance? Grell roared, slamming all 4 fists down simultaneously. Silence. The next interruption will be considered an act of war. During the recess that followed, I cornered Blackwood in the council chamber's antechamber. Are you trying to get us all killed? I hissed. The Draxans don't appreciate humor during their conquest speeches. Blackwood's smile never wavered. Captain Nix, has it occurred to you that I might know exactly what I'm doing? And what exactly is that? Let's just say Earth has been monitoring this conflict longer than you realize. The Draxans' tactics are predictable. Predictably lethal, I countered. They have enough firepower to reduce our planet to ash. He patted my shoulder. Sometimes the strongest position isn't the one with the most guns. When negotiations resumed, Grell delivered his final threat. You now have 2 hours. When our countdown reaches 0, we attack. Blackwood stood casually. Would anyone mind if I popped back to my ship to make a quick call? Shouldn't take more than, an hour and 58 minutes. High Council member Thala stared at him in disbelief. Our civilization faces extinction and you need to make a call? It's rather important, he said with a wink. As Blackwood departed, Grell laughed. Let the human run. It matters not. The countdown began. Our military prepared for a hopeless last stand. With 10 minutes remaining and no sign of Blackwood, even I began to wonder if the confident human had simply abandoned us. Sometimes, the most terrifying thing is the silence before destruction, #only one ship? Part 3, the revelation. With 30 seconds remaining on the countdown, Ambassador Blackwood strolled back into the negotiation chamber. His casual demeanor hadn't changed, but there was something new in his eyes, a gleam of satisfaction that made my scales tingle with apprehension. Sorry for the delay, he announced, straightening his diplomatic sash. Lovely weather we're having, isn't it? Commander Grell sneered. Your final moments, and you speak of weather? Pathetic. 3, 2, 1. The Draxan lieutenant called out. Weapons systems engaged. Nothing happened. Grell tapped his communication device impatiently. Status report. The lieutenant's voice trembled. Sir, all weapons systems are. They're offline. Engineering reports complete system failure across the fleet. Impossible. Grell roared. Blackwood pulled out a small device from his pocket. Not impossible. Just highly improbable, unless you know exactly what you're doing. Grell lunged toward the human. What have you done? Me? I just made a call. Blackwood stepped aside with surprising agility. Though I should mention that your ship's environmental systems are currently running on backup power. I'd estimate you have about 6 hours of life support remaining. Funny coincidence, isn't it? The chamber erupted in chaos. Draxan officers shouted into their communicators while Zelturian officials stared in stunned silence. This is sabotage. An act of war against the Draxan Empire. Grell bellowed. No, Commander. This is a demonstration. Blackwood's voice cut through the noise with unexpected authority. Perhaps you'd all like to see what one human ship can actually do. A holographic display activated in the center of the room, showing space around our planet. Suddenly, dozens of previously invisible vessels appeared, a massive human fleet that had been cloaked the entire time. Impossible, I whispered. Our scanners would have detected them. Not with our stealth technology, Blackwood said. And by the way, we've had access to Draxan systems for weeks. We could have destroyed your entire fleet, Commander Grell, but that would have been uncivilized. He turned to me, his expression serious for the first time. Captain Nix, I should clarify something. I'm not just a diplomatic observer. Humanity has been monitoring both your species, assessing your characters, your values. This conflict provided the perfect opportunity. You were testing us? I asked incredulously. We needed to understand who would make better neighbors. He smiled thinly. And who would require more supervision? Grell's frill flattened against his neck, the Draxan equivalent of turning pale. For the first time in recorded history, I watched a Draxan commander experience genuine fear. #only one ship? Part 4, New Understanding. The surrender ceremony was mercifully brief. Commander Grell, once so imposing, now slouched as he pressed his claw to the agreement tablet. With their ships disabled and life support dwindling, the Draxans had no choice. After the Draxan delegation departed, I cornered Ambassador Blackwood in the observatory overlooking the docking bay. You played us, I said, not bothering to hide my anger. You let us believe humans were weak while we faced extinction. Blackwood leaned against the viewport. Would you have acted naturally if you'd known the truth? We needed authentic reactions, Captain Nix. And what truth would that be? That humanity controls nearly a third of this galactic arm. He projected a star map that made my internal organs clench. Hundreds of systems marked in Earth blue. We've been around longer than you think, expanding quietly, watching. Why the deception? Why not announce yourselves? History taught us caution. We learned to assess potential neighbors before revealing our presence. The diplomatic ones become allies. The aggressive ones. He shrugged. They receive appropriate boundaries. The implication struck me like a gravity wave. How many other species have you tested this way? Enough to perfect the method. His smile returned. The Zelturians passed admirably. Even facing destruction, your leadership sought diplomatic solutions first. Later that day, Blackwood presented terms to both our peoples. The Zelturians would gain human protection and technology exchange. The Draxans would retreat to their core systems under monitoring, harsh but surprisingly merciful given their aggression. We value those who value peace, Blackwood explained. But we'll never tolerate threats. Not to us, not to our allies. As I watched the human fleet escort the Draxan ships away, High Council member Thala joined me on the command deck. We were fortunate, she whispered. To think we dismissed them as primitive observers. That was precisely their intention, I replied. They showed us exactly what they wanted us to see. That night, unable to sleep, I reviewed reports from across Zelturian space. Mysterious malfunctions averted, unexplained diplomatic breakthroughs, visiting dignitaries with unusual insights. Patterns emerged where I'd seen none before. How many humans walked among us, I wondered. How many primitive observers throughout the galaxy were silently evaluating, judging, deciding our fates? I gazed at the stars, suddenly aware we weren't discovering the galaxy, we were being discovered by it. And perhaps, by finally meeting humanity on their terms, we'd passed the most important test we never knew we were taking.